Hi everyone, this is Emily Socash reporting on my second practicum in which my client was Dr. Kenneth Roberts, a consultant and researcher with the Perpetulant Institute, and the project that I worked on was the introductory work on introducing his cognitive performance dynamics. I joined a team of 3 students working with Dr. Kenneth Roberts of the Perpetulant Institute. Dr. Roberts is a recent doctoral graduate with a long history in the performance improvement industry. He focused his research work on the interplay between technology and workers and developed a new model called cognitive performance dynamics, for which he needed practicum students to assist with the development of curriculum, metrics, and rollout structures. After initial consultation with Dr. Roberts, I suggested that I take on the role of communicating the CPD motif as a whole and assist with curriculum structuring. During my practicum, I developed several key documents for Dr. Roberts to use in introducing CPD to potential clients and in launching a successful CPD curriculum. These documents included a CPD introduction PowerPoint with a coordinating facilitator guide to train the presenter on relevant preparatory topics and potential conversation pitfalls, also a CPD curriculum launch background guide, a facilitator's guided agenda, and a single competency facilitator guided agenda. And thinking about outcomes, I believe that Dr. Roberts was very pleased with the product and quality of outputs, all of which were presented in a structured plenary that he coordinated together with Dr. Miranda Ralston on December 6, 2017, and my 2 classmates. In addition, I am personally pleased with the documents produced, as I believe they show my abilities to translate complex material into digestible and understandable messages, and also to meet the client's needs on material that was initially unfamiliar to me. Since I was a pair of hands helper, I did not learn much about the Perpetulant Institute as a whole, and if I were to continue to have a working relationship with Dr. Roberts, I would be curious to understand more about his role within the Institute as a system and get to know some of the other team members. I did learn, however, that the organization is attempting to make a significant change in the product line that it's offering, and that the organization may or may not be aware of Dr. Roberts' efforts on CPD. Some of my experience reaffirmed points of pain for myself that I have long struggled with, namely challenges with authority from older men and playing the role of a student or follower rather than being the leader. My new learning in this course was in the space of finding myself able to recognize something happening in the moment that feels kind of off, specifically that the client seemed particularly focused on impressing others. And I was able to call attention to it neutrally. Knowing that I'm able to do this is tremendously helpful in confidence building, and I think it points to more exploration needed in my own identity in the helping role and as an equal partner. The opportunity is available to me to continue working as a contract helper with Dr. Roberts, producing content and assisting in the launch of his curriculum. I think that if I were to work in a more interventive fashion, it would be to help him explore the appropriate boundaries for his anxiety surrounding what other researchers think of his work. These boundaries might fall somewhere between conference and paper writing, where he should have concern about others' perspectives, and the delivery of course curriculum to the individuals who work at companies that have launched the CPD curriculum, which would likely be of lesser concern. The client would benefit significantly from embarking on a market research endeavor to gather data on perspectives on what types of training programs and models would work best and be most sellable. One of the strengths of this client is his academic depth, but this depth could potentially hinder his success in creating a program that would function well in the real world. A deeper understanding of what modalities would serve the worker population and be received best would be a worthwhile investment. Currently, the assumption from the client is that the curriculum will be presented in a written format with videos of Dr. Roberts explaining each competency. This format may be correct, but without the research to support this as the right presentation format, I suspect there's a possibility for difficulty in reaching the most potential clients. In considering the implications that this practicum has had on my practice in the field, I feel the greatest takeaway has been what Tobias points out regarding a trusting consulting relationship. Tobias wrote, "Only through the trust that people are willing to grant me can I be effective." While I fulfilled the reading and have returned to reading the consulting guidance provided by Block, this practicum really cemented my understanding of conscientization in a way that I can apply it going forward. The definition of which being it's an awareness that occurs among people engaged in self-inquiry. The object here that feels very real to me is that the consultant or the researcher needs to go through this same process with the client in a participative way that recognizes that success depends on joint commitment and responsibility. An unexpected implication on my practice that this particular practicum, although not necessarily this client, has had on my practice is a somewhat strong response to Lohman's list of ethical and professional standards in the practicing of consulting psychology. In the chapter on standards, Lohman points to a short list of standards, of which the primary one is to avoid harm, and that's been sitting with me uneasily. I will continue to wrestle with this in my future practice, as I feel like avoiding harm or minimizing harm or anticipating misuse are a pretty low bar to set our work against. I might be seeking something that's a bit more visionary and aspirational. Working with this client has had the unique element of including a new method of team member development specifically targeting those who work in high-tech environments. So the implication to research in the field is kind of a robust array of possible contribution in terms of me serving as a contributor to advancing the CPD model and its coordinating curriculum. I'll conclude here by displaying this list of references which I alluded to in the presentation, but I also want to note that I see the readings for this practicum really as a loose scaffolding of sorts from which the construction of myself as consultant is being crafted. I now am able to see the interplay between the two main elements of the practicum learning, that being the work with the client as kind of a petri dish for learning, and pairing that with the shadow consulting we're doing in our group. Then the role that these references play is really one of academic foundations. And I have enjoyed this semester, and I'm really looking forward to our continued work together.